Good morning. So we're going to go over today's daily here. We've made some sky islands. So this is a free Gumroad download if you're interested in creating your own. Um, we got the whole blend file set up and ready to go for you. But today was mostly refining my scattering system here. So I really like being able to create some custom terrain with just some like stamps that we then apply to a base mesh and then blend it in. So we've got a few things to go over here, but just to show off how quickly you can make some variation here, we can take this edge, extrude it, and voila, we get some nice additional shapes. So if you're making levels, things like that, this should be a really nice way to start working. I don't know, we're just kind of playing around here, but do something like this. And yeah, it's beautiful. I'm very proud of how these systems are coming together. It is nice to like just be able to think of a level concept like, oh, I'm just going to block it out. And now anytime I need to make more levels, I'm not hand placing rocks, things like that. We're just getting closer to working on just the idea and building that up quickly. Let's do some variation here. Something like that. Okay, so let's look at the graphs. Cool. Loading islands. I love sky islands. I think I might do an airship generator next. So for our graphs, we'll start with this one here. Actually, this one's a little bit easier to fit on screen. But basically, we start with a little chunk of geometry. So this does have some vertex colors to start off with. Or actually, no, that's the first thing we do is we store some vertex colors. So we're taking two colors and we're storing them onto the face corners of each, a 2D vector onto the face corners. And we're mixing that by looking at the dot product. So dot product takes a direction and tells you how aligned the rest of those normals are to that direction. So we have a up direction and we compare it to all the normals, and then it gives us this fall off, which is actually pretty controllable as well. We could kind of blend it a little bit more if we wanted to, which I think I will because that looks quite nice, to be honest. So we blend those two together, and now the main piece of geometry just goes all the way to the end, and we have these two groups here. So this first group here is the pointed rocks on the bottom. So if I go over here, click the end, you can see we have these little pointed rocks, quite nice. And then the other group down here are the kind of edge groups. And I'm actually a little pleased with how we were able to place these. And I'll get into that right now. So in order to place them properly, you can see how they're right on the edge. So rather being on top or the bottom, they're on the kind of the sides, maybe the upward side or the bottom side. But by using that same comparison of the normals and the dot product, I've kind of compiled that into this node right here, which is a selection node. Which was, since we're using density, may not actually be the best because it's a Boolean selection. We actually could try to keep this as a float and plug that in here. But either way, we have these two comparisons. So we have the vector up and these values here. So this is the comparison value. How pointed up is it? And we can adjust that. And then we give it a little bit range by adding it on here. And the second one subtracts from that initial selection. A little hard to imagine, but you can imagine the top of a sphere as white. And we can shrink or grow that selection. And then we have the same type of selection, another gradient, that's subtracting from that first one. So it gets a ring, creates a nice ring, and we can play with that. Okay, so that's how we're placing them. The instances themselves are just these little stamps. So we have two collections. First, we have the rock edges, which are here. And then we have the actual bottom rocks, which are these kind of triangular pointed ones. And then Yeah, and we're just stamping them on there. Now, the blending's pretty nice too. So this is pretty standard, but now I've put it into its own node. So basically, we stamp our objects, we shrink wrap them, and then based on how far they are from that initial surface, we're blending in the normals, which might be a little bit hard to see until we compare. So that's with the blending, without the blending, and you can see we get this nice fall off, which is super cool. If I actually disable it here completely, you can see we get this much sharper edge, and I really want to avoid those. Even if we were going for a low poly look, I kind of feel like it's distracting visually. I'd love to have a terrain that feels organic, smooth, and blended together. Then we're also blending in these colors, which for some reason is called blender colors. And that's kind of much in the same way. We're just taking two colors, and based on the proximity to the original mesh, we're blending in a new color, which I actually need to expose. Right now it's actually just tucked away into the node. So I'll do that before I send out the file. And that's pretty much it. There's not too much to these. They're pretty straightforward. Just distributing stuff, snapping it to the surface, blending some colors, blending the normals. And that's pretty much it. And it really should be about that simple. I don't want to be stuck like figuring all this stuff out each time. So now as we refine our nodes, kind of make better and better nodes, we're going to get better and better results. That's pretty much it for today. Again, this is a free download available on my Gumroad, and we'll have a new video tomorrow. See you then.